What's up guys, Mickle here, and a recent David Schwartz interview has left a lot of people in the XRP community wondering, are banks ever going to use XRP? Well guys, in this video, I want to address that exact interview and go over this topic in depth because I think it's really going to help you understand what David Schwartz meant in that interview and also show you some things that are happening in real time today to let you know that banks will 100% be using XRP in the future. Guys, towards the end of the video though, I also want to talk about something I believe to be extremely interesting, and that is FUD about validators. A lot of people have said that the XRP ledger is not decentralized enough. There's not enough validators, and the main reason for that is because there is no reward, there is no monetary incentive to run a validator on the XRP ledger network. Guys, at the end of this video, I want to show you something fascinating in regards to this that I believe further confirms the thesis that the XRP ledger is one of the best designed blockchains out there by miles. Guys, like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you so much to everyone who takes the time to like the videos and subscribe to the channel. These two things really do help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So guys, I want to start out this video and quickly cover some pretty interesting news that happened this morning, and that is Robinhood is actually buying Bitstamp. Now, I do believe this actually does have some Ripple and XRP implications because Ripple is actually a large shareholder of Bitstamp. Now Robinhood holds Bitstamp, so this might bring Ripple and XRP actually closer to Robinhood. The other thing that not a lot of people are actually pointing out is that Bitstamp is one of the leading issuers for the XRP AMM. What we can see right here is Bitstamp has one of the largest pools on their XRP Bitcoin to XRP pair and their XRP to Bitstamp USD pair. Now this is pretty interesting because obviously Bitstamp has some close ties to the XRP ledger, and that begs the question that if now Robinhood owns Bitstamp, is Robinhood going to be more XRP centric? Guys, for a long time, Robinhood has had XRP listed on their exchange, but not actually tradable. You can just see the ticker. I'm hoping this acquisition of Bitstamp is going to bring XRP closer to Robinhood because obviously Robinhood is one of the biggest markets for retail traders. I just wanted to point this to your attention. I think it's super interesting that they actually chose to acquire Bitstamp out of any other exchange out there. Obviously, Bitstamp has those close ties to Ripple and the XRP ledger. Ultimately, I really hope this just means that XRP is going to get more mainstream, becoming listed on Robinhood because of the obvious ties we have already seen. I want to keep moving though and talk about something that I believe is getting a lot of attention right now, and that is David Schwartz coming out and saying that banks are never going to be a Ripple success story. Now guys, a lot of people took this and ran with it and said, oh, this means that banks are never going to use XRP. And before we get into that exact discussion, I just want to show you, right? Banks are already adopting XRP in real time. Guys, this is directly from a Swiss bank. The integration of XRP into the Swiss financial system equips them with a future-oriented tool set to navigate the digital age. The collaboration between Ripple and Swiss banks can unlock numerous benefits for cross-border transactions by leveraging XRP's fast and secure payment settlement. Guys, what we are seeing right now is Ripple is making headway with institutions all around the world in adopting XRP. And a lot of these institutions are banks. Take a look at this. This was a report released earlier today. 80% of Japanese banks have already partnered with Ripple. These Japanese banks are not partnering with Ripple for a new messaging service. They are partnering with Ripple because they understand there is a deep and systemic change happening in the financial system, and that change is going to be instant settlement. They understand that they are going to need a technology provider that can offer this, and the leading technology provider in offering instant settlement to institutions is going to be Ripple using XRP. Guys, it is so clear to me that the banks are understanding that this technology is going to be critical to incorporate into their payment stack, and what we're watching in real time is banks adopting this technology. So what did David Schwartz mean when he said banks are never going to be a Ripple success story? Guys, I think it's actually fairly obvious what David Schwartz meant by that. He just means that banks are slow moving. Banks are never going to be on the brink of innovation. Banks are waiting for regulation. They're waiting for policy. And until then, they're just going to sit on the sidelines and kind of wait for things to be hashed out. banks are never going to be on the forefront of the cutting edge technology that Ripple wants to produce. There's a lot of smaller players, a lot of smaller fintech providers that are going to be able to take the risk that banks simply can't do. And I believe this is what David Schwartz means by a Ripple success story. A Ripple success story is working with one of these smaller institutions who's willing to innovate fast and break things to bring them to the top, to bring them to a top tier company in the financial system. That is not going to be banks, right? Banks already sit in those positions. Banks are extremely conservative and are going to wait until they're forced to move into some of these technologies before adopting them at scale. Guys, David Schwartz has said on the record that Ripple is working with banks, right? Ripple has been signing on banks. But when I think he comes out and says that they're not going to be a Ripple success story, he's simply stating the fact that most of these banks are just going to come on board to avoid being disrupted rather than actually pushing the boundaries for what this technology can offer. I believe if you take a look at what's happening all around the world right now, it could not be more obvious that Ripple will be working with banks. The thing we need to understand is banks are slow, they're conservative, and therefore they're really not going to be the partnerships that really blow up or cause any kind of new technology revolutions. The banks, I believe, are going to have to adopt this technology to stay competitive, and there's only really one company out there working to help these conservative financial institutions step into the digital era, and that's Ripple. Guys, I don't believe banks are working with Ripple for a new version of Swift. They would have just stuck with Swift if that was the case. I believe they're working with Ripple because they know down the road they are going to have to use XRP, and when they have the regulatory clarity to do that, they are going to step in and do it in a big way. Guys, we'll see how all this pans out, but I think it's really important to understand that we are constantly seeing new announcements of large banking institutions adopting Ripple to use the XRP ledger, and just because David Schwartz might come out with a shorthanded quote saying, oh, they're not going to be a Ripple success story, that doesn't mean that Ripple isn't going to have massive success with these institutions adopting XRP. I think it just means they're not the partnerships that get him the most excited. I want to keep moving and finish this video off with one last thing that I thought was fascinating, and that is different blockchains looking to incorporate smaller validator sets. Guys, this post was actually from someone in the Ethereum community, and I believe it is fascinating and shows that a lot of the things we were told in the XRP community for a very long time might have not actually been true about the size of a validator set. This is from Jay. Like I said, he's a member of the Ethereum community. This entire industry is moving towards smaller validator sets. Every major modular chain that has launched has a sequencer set of one. Huge validator sets will become a thing of the past. Now, guys, this is very, very interesting because if we really do see a lot of chains move to incorporate smaller validator sets, well, then the XRP ledger was just ahead of the curve. And the XRP ledger did this without incentivizing any of its validators or wasting any resources. A lot of these other chains essentially use inflation to pay off validators. They use network rewards at the expense of the users of the networks to pay validators to contribute to the network. The XRP ledger has a large validator set, enough for the chain to be up and running without any issues for 12 plus years without incentivizing a single one of those validators. It comes back to the idea that the best incentive is no incentive. The incentive for the XRP ledger to be operational, to be decentralized, to be functional is enough for people to contribute computing power to the ledger and keep it up and running. You don't need to pay off the validators with some reward that causes inflation in the network or sacrifices the experience of the people using the network. This is a massive advantage over every other chain out there. Every other chain is wasting energy, resources, time to essentially make people participate in the network, but that is not needed in the XRP ledger's case. Now, the biggest downside this has caused is we haven't had as many validators as in the Bitcoin or Ethereum community, because people who are providing validation power are doing it because they want to see the success of the ledger and not simply doing it for a monetary profit. But guys, what people are starting to think is that having these massive validator sets is actually slowing down the network to such a degree that it's actually not beneficial to have the network be that decentralized. Guys, it is so important to understand. People talk so much about the importance of maximum decentralization, but that isn't necessarily true. All you need is a chain that is decentralized enough where not a single person can take control of it, not a single person can assert their influence, and for the chain to remain up and running through whatever life throws at it. But as long as it is decentralized, as in the XRP's ledger's case, to get through 12 years of history, guys, that is sufficient decentralization. Any push past that point is simply adding unnecessary load to the network. I believe a lot of the networks out there who pushed for mass decentralization ended up creating a system that, yes, is very decentralized, but has almost become unusable. The XRP ledger has always put at the core of its values the idea of being fast and efficient, remaining true to its values of being the best technology to move money from point A to point B. Guys, I believe David Schwartz was ahead of the pack when he designed the XRP ledger. I think he knew that a lot of the things going on with the other chains was unsustainable, and that's why he kept the XRP ledger on the track that it's on. If we really do see the rest of the industry starting to move towards things like smaller validator sets, guys, I believe if we really do see the rest of the industry starting to incorporate things like smaller validator sets, it is going to confirm that David Schwartz and the rest of the people behind the XRP ledger have really had it beat on this entire industry for a very long time. I think it's going to show that a lot of the network architecture at the XRP ledger really is the best out there, and things like no incentive are the best incentive were just ahead of their time and really preparing for a level of adoption by institutions that retail wasn't simulating in the early days. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.